Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon for this awesome webinar we have planned for you today. Just before we get started, just want to go over a couple housekeeping items. So you will all be receiving Grubhub gift cards in your email. We are going to be doing this throughout the webinar, so just check your email every so often. Again, lunch is on us. As a reminder, if you would like to donate your Grubhub gift card to those on the front lines at Mercy Health Hospital, you can do so by emailing T. Vossler at C3 Tech Advisors, or again, even drop us a chat saying, you know, I'd like to donate this instead. And we will ensure that the Grubhub gift cards are sent to those, again, working on the front lines. Just as a friendly reminder, this webinar will be recorded and we will send out the on-demand link so you can always reference and watch it again. We also, just a couple other items to note, to adjust settings, so to adjust the views that you're currently seeing from the presenter speaking to the actual screen, you're going to go to the top of your screen. In the top there, you're going to be able to adjust your zoom and adjust again where you'd like your presenter to be, either right justified, top, bottom of the screen, whatever makes it most comfortable. Also, on your right, you should see a control panel. This is where you're able to ask us questions. So please feel free to insert any questions you may have throughout this webinar. We'll pepper them in, and we'll also have some time at the end of this webinar to address any questions we weren't able to get to during the discussion. Lastly, we do have a couple polls for you just to kick things off to have some fun. So we definitely want to hear from you and want you to participate. So just to start, I'm going to launch a quick poll and just see, you know, how everyone's doing today. So how's your day going so far? And us as coffee drinkers, as the panelists were just talking, you know, we love our coffee. So hopefully we all have some good coffee at home. And I'll give it another second here. All right, let's see everyone's response. I don't know if anyone can see it. But it looks like most of you, the coffee is strong and you're feeling great. So that's awesome to hear. And I'm glad that no one put that there isn't enough coffee in the world today. So sounds like we're all doing great, especially for what we love to call Friday Eve, aka Thursday. So of course, just to kick things off, I'd like to introduce our newest C3 member, Scott Pierce. And Scott Pierce is going to host this webinar. So Scott, go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Happy Thursday to you. It looks like it's not raining outside, but it's supposed to get back in the 50s today, so I'm excited about that and getting better for the weekend. So spring is hopefully back, and 50s and 60s and 70s is on the way. But yeah, just most of you I've met before, and thank you for taking the time to join us. But yeah, just really wanted to give you I've joined C3 about 5 weeks ago. I've known Matthew, the owner, and Taylor for a few years now, and it was an interesting time to make a change in my career, but was really excited about the opportunity to join up with the C3 family, and we're as busy as ever, as probably everybody else in the world, in the IT world is just trying to scramble around and make sure that we have our teams and the people that need connectivity from home and work from home and everything else, that they're able to get things rolling. So just a quick little recap about C3. So Matthew started the company in 2008. He was selling circuits for Quest Communications for several years and decided he wanted to bring more of his knowledge and consulting skills to his client base. So he decided to go out on his own and essentially kind of become a broker for a lot of the technology partners in the United States. So he started the company and started working with his clients and just helping enterprises making better technology choices for their future and for the landscape. And so he was able to partner with a lot of really good folks all over the US and then helping with strategy and solutions, everything from unified communications and call center as a service to SD-WAN, cybersecurity, cloud services in general, so whether it be offsite backups and DR, and just everything else in between. So this is a quick little snapshot. I think a lot of you guys have probably seen this. We like to call it taking a walk through the clouds with C3. So they're in the middle in the sunshine. That's kind of a bread and butter for us. We deal with circuits and connectivity on a day-to-day basis. Susan and our team do a phenomenal job of pulling in resources and different options for connectivity services. So, you know, fiber and PRI and every SIP trunks and everything else. And then how do we expand across that? So just going around, you know, the platform, a lot of the things we talked about, a lot of the really great partners, obviously with Vonage, who's co-sponsoring with us today, a lot of folks in the UCaaS space, and then in the security space, trying to figure out what's the best landscape to better protect my users, my information, and my data. So we've aligned ourselves with some great vendors on those solutions, as well as a call center and SD-WAN and other cloud services. So that kind of wraps up that slide. So next up, I think we're probably just going to get things rolling with Jonathan from Vonage. We want to keep this conversational, and we're just really here to help educate. So the Lunch and Learn series is how, you know, what let's talk about UCaaS in general. How does it fit for different organizations? What makes sense? How does it work in the work from home platform and landscape? And just we look forward to having conversations with all of you and getting good questions. And again, thank you for taking the time. And Jonathan, go ahead, buddy.
Thanks, Scott. I appreciate your time and the introduction as well. It's good to partner with you guys over at C3. Today, we're going to talk about, you know, obviously flexible communications platform, but really it's about enabling the enterprise for success with unified communications. And unified communications means a lot of different things these days. What we do see a lot of right now in the current situation is a bunch of siloed applications. And so this could be just from voice paths, digital paths, like messaging of any sort, from SMS to in-app messaging, things like that, separated from customer management software to any other data silos that you might see out there. Now, there has been a strong push even prior to our situation with COVID to really unify those services. And that's really where we see a lot of UC providers out there poised to help organizations. Vonage has been able to do this in very short order for quite a few clients, both from the small and mid-size on up to the enterprise level. We've made large transitions for all number of companies and really started to tie together multiple different aspects of their communication strategy. And so really what we're looking at is how communications has changed. And we can talk about this in a couple of different ways. We can talk prior to COVID, we can talk COVID, and we can talk post-COVID as to how these things have really changed and what that's going to mean to not only the industry and what the service providers have to bring to the table, but also to what you as businesses really need to consider. And its flexibility is number one, right? That's the biggest thing that I hear is, can we have these communications available in all avenues? It's nice for us to be able to work from home, those who maybe haven't had that opportunity in the past, but then you've got other stressors on you, which is, you know, is your bandwidth appropriate? How do you worry about those types of things to make sure that you do have clear communications across the board? Not only that, but then you've got multiple people coming in and out. I have enjoyed seeing the relaxing of, you know, interruptions in meetings. No matter the importance of the meetings, there is a human piece to all of this that we've really kind of jumped in and embraced as professionals. But really what we're trying to drive here at Vonage is the ability to pick and choose the pieces that are going to matter to your business and your employees, as well as to how you can really engage your client base. And we start that just by meeting the demands of each of those different verticals. And so think through the salespeople. How are they going to contact those new leads? Make sure that you guys are offering services to those folks that are going to be impactful. IT operations, seamless ability to manage, turn up, turn down, augment without having the enormous stress of, you know, possibly downtime or things of that nature. So these are all concerns, and certainly there are many others that you have to consider when you're looking about bringing a new application or new communications services into the mix. And so as we look to transform the enterprise, Vonage's goal, and I think also too what a goal of the entire marketplace is to create that single solution that you don't have to consistently go out and add layered technologies or siloed technologies to start connecting more and more things. I'm on the solutions engineering side, and so it's always fascinating to see how we can connect services. But I know when I talk to different organizations, there's not always, number one, the bandwidth, because we're moving at a very fast pace to support our businesses right now. But sometimes there's not the assets or the employees that can help with all the truly technological pieces. That's why you have people like C3 that can come help advise and really drive value as that trusted advisor to bring the best technologies to bear that can integrate very seamlessly and create that strong communications aspect. And so I'm just curious. I think we had a couple of polls here. Do we have one maybe that could just see where people are at and how they've transitioned? Were they coming into this COVID situation with a UC or a hosted UC solution? Are they moving fast to try and get some?
Yeah, so we do have a question and I will prompt it. So the question is, does your organization currently leverage a UCaaS solution? So I'm going to launch the poll real fast. And again, I'll give it about a minute or so. And again, just curious to see again what we're currently at.
Yeah, and we're kind of seeing this across the board, Taylor, is, some people were prepared and like have these hosted solutions. Other people were already thinking about it. And then those that are really trying to work fast to get a solution that'll work. So the industry in and of itself, and I think you guys can agree at C3, whether it's Vonage or some of our other competitors, have really stepped up to the plate to help in making these quick transitions for customers.
Perfect. All right, so it looks like we have, looks like some of us can't click. Oh. Sometimes we like to think we're in technology, right? And it always works.
That's right.
All right, so I'm going to close the poll. I did see some chats come in through our questions saying some that can't, but we have a few no's in there as well. So this may be a little skewed, but I'm going to close the poll. So we had 36% say yes and 64% said no, that they currently do not leverage a UCaaS solution.
Great. So we've got a mixed group there, but that's really good, because I mean, what we're really trying to drive here is knowledge of the capabilities that are out there. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to really dig into the Vonage solutions. And Vonage really does offer quite a wide variety of capabilities. The Vonage technology stack is built on the public cloud globally and is scalable and flexible enough to handle future demand by our clients through thoughtfully built microservices architecture. There's a lot of really cool things that have gone on in the infrastructure here, and I'd love to take a chance to dive deeper with those of you that have interest in that later on. But I think the key piece is scalability and reliability. When you look back at this platform, we've had 100% uptime over the last 4 years. This is something that isn't just sales or marketing fluff. You could really route some of our core engineers and ask that question, and they're pretty proud of that aspect. We worked really hard to design a platform that enables our clients and our partners to communicate all the time. And as we start to talk about some of the different services that are available, you'll see that we've got a unified communications aspect, we have contact center aspects, and then we have programmable communications. And the programmable communications mean an awful lot of things, but really it is the wrapping around our packaged applications. So we have tons of APIs, and we have this abstract ability for those that are in the development world who want to create their own applications to deliver services via our connections into all the communications worlds out there. We've built this global infrastructure, this carrier network And so through APIs, we've allowed developers in the tech space to access those capabilities, and it's really powerful. But obviously, we have some packaged applications that are ready to go for those that aren't developers or not interested in doing development work. And that's really a strong suit of ours, is we have these packaged applications that can come out and help from the UC, the collaboration and communications front, and also range into the contact center. We have a couple of different levels of contact center, from outside of CRMs to fully embedded with CRMs. We have some of our strongest relationships, both from a product and a personnel standpoint, with Salesforce, Google, and Microsoft. We work very hard to integrate deeply into those products. You will see other competitors as well talk through some of those integrations, and where we're finding differences really is ours really do a lot of embedded and drive more capabilities. We're trying to bring that single platform rather than moving around from application to application. And so I think to dig into this a little further, I think use cases always make it a little better. But I want to take a moment to actually show you the application itself so that you can kind of see what we're working at here. So I'm going to minimize these slides for a second. Oops, not my calendar. Sorry, give me 1 second here. There we go. And then I'm going to bring over this application here. Make it a little bigger so you can see what I'm doing here. And this is VBC, or Vonage Business Communications. This is our desktop application. This application is a messaging first application. It is a soft phone, of course, as you'll see down here at the bottom. And you have a ton of other capabilities that really deliver in all different forms of communication. So whether it's voice, SMS, which we have the ability to do direct from within here, team messaging internally, think anything from like a Slack-esque type thing, to a meetings product. You can see meetings logged here, even the recordings and the people that are on it. If there were chat information, you would see all the chats, even if you were sharing links, things of that sort right in there. And so these are the basics, in my opinion, of what you should be looking for from a UC service. There are a lot of different ways to deliver this, but it's really important for them to be in one single application so that your end users get the efficiency of contacting their people as fast and as seamlessly as possible. Now, we can go through a lot of different things. You can drag and drop docs into here. We can make real quick discussions with people as we see fit. And if Thea were online, she could answer back to me there. We can see presence here with the green dot. So she is logged in there, and we'll see if she responds back. We can do group chats as well that are very helpful. But where we start to see the real big differentiators is, for instance, down here in the My Apps section. And so I mentioned Salesforce before, but one of the key pieces and parts here is that you can actually log your calls within Salesforce, and you can see these call logs within here. So if I were to make a phone call or receive a phone call from somebody, you would actually see that call log, and you can see up here in all the call logs here, the ability to go ahead and add a new one. So if I jump over here and I wanted to create a case, I could go ahead and add a case here. Take a second. It recognizes that phone number, and so it's able to add that. I can make notes, create a status on this. So if this is new or in progress. And again, this is pulling from all the abilities that the CRM is providing. And so once that information is done, I can go ahead and create this. Oh, one or more of the fields was incorrect. It's always the best part about doing a demo live, is you never know what you're going to get. So let's just go to a different one here. We'll just
Jonathan, just a quick question. I think some of that coming up from some of the folks watching is, I guess in a scenario like we are in today, if we get extended for another 2, 3, 4 weeks or 5 weeks of the stay at home, or what if business does not get back to usual, at least for folks here in Michigan, how quickly do you guys normally see a turn up for a Vonage deployment?
That's a great question, Scott. So obviously complexity matters. So it depends on what all we're doing for everybody. But where we see a lot of this is kind of in that we've done real easy seen him to go out to 3 or 4 days as we add layers of complexity. What we have done as a service provider organization is deliver a new team that is specific to our professional services group that can help with these fast turnups. And I'm glad you mentioned it. I'd love to show, and I could go on and on about the service and the capabilities here, but I think what might make more sense is to actually go back to a couple of direct use cases that will even talk to the speed of our deployments, since that question is top of mind to people. And so here I want to talk about one of our larger customers, Customer Direct. Great group. For those that may or may not know, think BPO or an outsourced contact center. Huge value add for Customer Direct is the data that they deliver. And so we've worked with Customer Direct for a couple years on the contact center side of the house. They use our Vonage contact center products, and they have quite regularly. What really the story is here, specifically with the COVID, and more specific to what that question asked, is they had to make a decision to send all their people remote. Now, their contact center people, because they were using the Vonage contact center, that was very simple. But then you've got the rest of the business that was set up on a premises-based PBX. And so we had to, in very short order, I think they made the decision in 24 hours to send their people home. We had them set up in about 48 to 72 hours with their new UC setup. So we added the Vonage Business Communications stack for them, and that's really where it started to drive some of their efficiency. And they scaled the workforce from in-office to out-of-office, 20% to 80% remote, really almost overnight. It just took a couple of days to get this up and running. With other products and services that were layered on here, they really reduced churn of their agents. This was very beneficial to them because they were able to stay engaged in that single pane of glass situation. So hopefully that kind of gives a good idea of what we were looking at here. You know, yeah. One of the others here that, did you have another question, Scott?
No, well, yeah, just one other one that you know you can probably dig into, or yeah. I might be jumping ahead of you. Sorry if I am, but I guess what's kind of the secret sauce with Vonage that the advantage, or what makes your guys' solution so much better, or more advantageous than some of the other UCaaS platforms?
Yeah, I love answering that question. I feel that there's a list of unique pieces, but if I'm going to boil it down to a couple of things, I will talk about flexibility and integrations. We are really a software-driven organization. Our goal is to be that glue between all those other business applications and that direct communication path. And so if you're looking for something that's standard out of the box, yes, we offer that. And we offer some really great opportunities for you to engage your client base and your partners from many different aspects. As I mentioned, we can do Facebook integrations to SMS to in-app messaging, things of that sort. But then we start to layer on some of the integrations through our API platform that really drive the value home. I think some of the common topics right now, and you'll see me go into this here in a couple of minutes, are AI. And artificial intelligence really isn't powerful unless you have data. And so the big goal with Vonage is to take all this information and data that you're getting from your conversations, whether it's call recordings, call transcripts, data surrounding time of calls, how many calls it takes to close a sale, all those pieces, and driving them into the business intelligence tools that each organization uses, and that could be a CRM tool, that could be things like Tableau or whatever it may be, from small to large. We really look at those integrations as pivotal in the communications front. And so that's what really drives a lot of our capabilities, is that deep integration into these other tools to help that business have a more holistic view of what's going on, so they can make better decisions on how to be more efficient and drive more success. And so I'll give you a couple more use cases here, and then we'll dig into a couple other products from a high level, and then we can open it up to some more questions. Here's a financial firm. So, before we talked about a contact center, this is a financial firm, and then we've got another logistics firm that I'll give you some information on. So from a vertical perspective, we really do run across the board, healthcare as well, and I've got some good use cases that we can talk through on the healthcare side of it. This financial firm, again, very deeply embedded with Salesforce. You're going to hear that a lot. We do have a lot of success with Salesforce, but also I would say ServiceNow, Microsoft Dynamics, Zoho. There's Zendesk. I could go through a list that we do out of the box integrations with, but we also are willing to talk one-off integrations as well from proprietary solutions. But these folks, they had an outbound sales team that came to us first. We ended up selling them the Vonage Contact Center, but where there was a disconnect between the contact center and their UC solution from a premises-based standard. And so we layered on our Vonage Business Cloud, or services, the UC side of the house, to really drive that integration together and help those teams communicate more efficiently. So while we embedded the contact center app within Salesforce for them, their outbound salespeople were able to make tons of strides on efficiencies, time spent, things of that sort, close more deals. But also too, from the feet on the street, those people out, they were able to communicate through the messaging app, which was pivotal because there's a lot of internal messaging going back and forth as markets change and fluctuate. And then this was also a very key differentiator for them as they went remote, as they had a handful of physical offices, one of them specifically in New York City where they were hardest hit. So big changes there and really helpful for them.
Jonathan, another quick.
Last use case. Yeah, shoot, Scott.
Sorry, just another quick question. More and more I run in and talking with clients and prospects is like, Scott, what would we do about handsets? I mean, we have a bunch of existing handsets, can we reutilize them? Do we need handsets? Everybody's got a cell phone these days. So especially with the remote workforce, what are you guys seeing in terms of, the soft app, the app for the PC, the laptop, and then for the mobile app? How many people are I guess staying away or not even buying desk phones anymore versus just using the mobile app or the app on the soft phone on the PCs?
So I know we did have a couple other questions come in regarding C3, Scott. So while we have Jonathan coming back on, I'll ask these questions about C3.
Okay.
And you may have adjusted a little earlier and touched on it, but can you explain how the C3 process works in terms of evaluating specifically a UCaaS provider and what tools that we're able to use in order to, again, ensure we're making or helping the organization make the right decision?
Method for C3, again, we're 100% consulting agency, so we're here to really help our clients make the best strategic decision for their business needs, right? So there's a lot of criteria, and we've essentially kind of taken the RFP process, the request for proposal or request for quote, and have taken all the work out of that. So we've done a really good job of being able to develop metrics and sheets where we can take Vonage and other providers in the UCaaS space and see who matches up appropriately for the business objectives, so they're checking all the boxes for our clients. So we're able to do that research. Joe Mock, one of our UCaaS engineers, is phenomenal, one of the best there is, and he's spent a lot of time and research doing this. Even did that before. He was actually C3's, I think, second or third actual customer with Matthew back in the day, and then Matthew finally was able to have him come over to our team. But So being able to take all that knowledge that we've done through the process of identifying all these different solutions, working with 200 plus vendors, who's the best fit for the customer, and being able to identify, again, the appropriate objectives, like Jonathan was talking about. Hey, are you using Salesforce? Are you using Microsoft Dynamics? Are you using Office 365? Do you have existing handsets today? Do you want handsets? Does your staff, a lot of staff today is like, I don't, it's funny, I talk about my last job. I had a $2,000 Cisco phone that sat on my desk in my office that I used maybe 3 times in 8 years. I'm like, that's a waste of money, right? I always had my mobile app with me where I can make and take calls from that, or I can make it right from my computer. So we'll kind of segue in that back into you, Jonathan, about the mobility and soft phones, and do we need handsets anymore? And how often are people saying, hey, we just want the applications, the software that we can put on our mobile or our laptops or desktops?
Yeah, great question, and thanks for the air cover while I have the technical issues there. It's interesting. I have a lot of people obviously come to us asking for quick turn-ups right now. So as we look at things immediately, soft phones are key. They're paramount because that actually helps with the expedite of the turn-up. Those that have physical phones, to your point, they're using them less and less. And I think a big component of that is the ability to deliver quality. C3, you guys are in a unique position to advise on network and quality of network as well with some of your SD-WAN solutions that are out there. Vonage partners directly with VeloCloud, who I know is one of your partners as well, from an SD-WAN perspective. And as the SD-WAN market matures, it has the ability to do so much for that soft phone traffic, whereas just a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, it wasn't really able to offer that high quality capability. So I do see more and more people moving away from the physical phones. I think that our situation with COVID has really driven that in a far faster pace. And I think that that's kind of, as we start to look at the future of the workplace, we're starting to see some of those changes take hold quickly. You see the rise of video, you see the rise of soft phones in an exponential rate, quite frankly. And a lot of this is out of necessity now rather than desire, which is what we were working with previous to the COVID situation. And so as people start to come back to whatever the new normal ends up being from a technology perspective, I think, and this is only my opinion, but based on my engagements, you're going to see a lot more video engagement, and you're going to see a lot more soft phones. And a lot of the physical devices on the market don't support the video piece of it. And people are starting to be used to doing video. Prior to COVID, I would get on a video call and, 2 out of 10 would have their video up. Now, when I get on one, I mean, people are being given a hard time because their video is not working, or people immediately apologize for not having their video up because they're having technical issues or bandwidth, similar to what I just ran into a moment ago. So that's really where I see is really things are moving towards the software route, and the physical phones, while there is a place for them, I'm not saying that they're going away. I just don't think they will be as prevalent as they were just a few months ago.
Yeah. My excuse when I'm not pulling up my video is either I forgot to, shave, or my hair's getting a little too long, or I'm still in my pajamas and my robe. So I'm like, oh man, my video's not working. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Thank goodness for the company store, so I could wear a Vonage hat today because I was having a bad hair day myself.
Yeah. The barbers and hairstylists in a few weeks are gonna be tough to get into, but it should be interesting.
Yeah. You nailed it. Absolutely. So just kind of coming back, I want to round out the discussion just on the UC side of the house, and then I want to layer on a couple other things, and we can go into questions. Certainly stop me as you want, Scott, and if you have questions, we can always jump in. We can have a conversation about those as well. Flexibility, I've hit that point home a handful of times. I think it matters in a lot of different aspects. When you look at C3 as a partner, they've got a ton of flexibility with the breadth of their portfolio, their knowledge base, things like that. They know when to bring us in. They know when we're the right solution for you. And quite frankly, when we're not, because we aren't for everybody. But we are for a lot of people, and we've been delivering voice and communication services in the voice over IP range since the beginning. We own probably the most patents in that. And so our technology is tried and true. Our platforms are tried and true. But we have been around and probably are one of the legacy providers here in the marketplace as far as hosted voice is concerned.
Yeah, so we had another kind of question about what's the experience. So, well, let's say for example, we're spinning up a client that needs to get into the Vonage cloud immediately, and we're deploying it, and we're saying, hey, we're just going to get these soft phone applications out to you, or getting the application so you can put it on your mobile device. Can you talk to us about how that kind of looks in terms of hey, we need to turn this up in a week type of deployment? How do we train these users? Sometimes when it's if we have a older workforce that's always used to just having that traditional handset, and they're like, all right, I don't know how to do this. Do you guys have some neat training tools or tips and tricks around that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we've got a couple of different things. So we've got a handful of teams that are built specifically for this type of engagement. So number one, we have regular sessions multiple times a week on how-tos with Vonage products. So it could be the UC product, it could be the CC product, it could be best practices from an admin perspective. Just going to Vonage.com, there's a training session in there. You can set up and sign up for those trainings, and you can go through those very quickly. There's also a lot of self-paced tutorials that are out there, from videos, both from our YouTube channel on into our website as well, that we've got a bunch there that are pre-recorded and that walk you through our product set. That's from a general perspective. When you start to look at opportunity-specific engagements, so as a client comes to us, C3 brings the client, we all work together to find the appropriate solution. We close that opportunity and we go through the installation process. Our professional services teams are built to help not only design the communications flows, but to also educate those end users. And again, there's multiple types of end users. Scott, you brought it up very well, which is those that aren't used to doing only these desktop applications. They're used to physical phones. They like the buttons. It's habit. It's not that they can't learn new things. It's just they're so used to certain things. And so we do take the time to educate them in many different formats. We have free trainings on up to full in-depth trainings that we can tailor specific to an organization. So again, we run the gambit on cost for what that is, whether it's a free engagement, which is normal to every one of our deployments, on up to full in-depth, special recordings, things of that nature, depending on what the client's looking to accomplish. And so I think that's where this gets really fun too, is that we go through these standard products. They have a ton of feature functionality. They allow for integration. They allow for a great customer experience on multiple sides. But where can we add more functionality? How can we make things a bit more useful? And so you've heard me talk about it in general, but one of the products that we brought out was our Smart Numbers application. And our Smart Numbers application, what it does is it takes our UC, packaged UC services, and it starts to allow people to use more business applications by doing deeper integrations. And so you can see here a handful of the examples that people have integrated with. AI is a big piece of the puzzle. And that could be through Vonage AI or some of the other AI platforms that are out there. We work a lot with Google and Microsoft, as you've heard. We've done things with IBM Watson. This can all sound very cumbersome and wide open. And I think that's the key here, right? Is what kind of unique solution is somebody looking for, and do they want to deploy it in a low code to no code fashion? For instance, I could give you an example. Maybe when a certain phone line is called, you want an SMS text. You can set that up with Smart Numbers very easily, that an SMS text can go out to people, a group of people, saying, hey, there's somebody in this queue, or there's somebody, it's an emergency queue or something to that effect. Those are simple rules. Some of the other ones we can do is real-time transcription. So you can connect it to a transcription application, and you can bring that information back in. One of the more unique ways that we've deployed this with our Smart Numbers is real-time translation. And so you could have two individuals on each side of the line talking in different languages, and the service can be programmed to go through a natural language processing application that can actually translate between the different languages with Spanish and English, Russian and German, et cetera, et cetera. There's lots of different ways that we can really start to make these engagements very specific to the use cases that you want and really drive value to your client base and what you're trying to accomplish there. And this, again, is in a low-code, no-code fashion. So there's a ton of capabilities to tie our packaged applications into other business services that are out there. Now, once you dip your toe in the water of low-code, no-code, sometimes people get, really interested, and then they want to see where else they can take this. And so that's where our API platform comes in. I know this is not the primary focus of this discussion, so I just want to touch on it real quick. We have APIs that are consumable in a heavy code, low code, and no code fashion, depending on your capabilities as an organization, as an end user, whatever you're looking to accomplish. A lot of our API use cases come in the communications APIs, which you'll see the voice, video, SMS, MMS, and app and social messaging. Those are big pieces of the puzzle right now, but that's not just everything that is API related. We do a lot of two-factor authentication. We do that for some of the largest firms in the world right now, as well as other reporting metrics and even metadata that's required. So authentication just to see who owns the phone number that just called in to make sure that that information is coming through correctly. A big use case for our API platform is a company called Aramex. Really amazing setup. We automated their inbound engagements because they were wasting an enormous amount of time just answering inquiries on where packages were. Now, this is more in the Middle East and Africa region, but they do spread out a little further past that into Europe. But a logistics company nonetheless, so everybody's always wondering, hey, where's my package? Where's this? Where's that? And their contact center was wasting a ton of time just answering those simple questions. And so by use of our messaging API, we were able to tie together with WhatsApp, which is one of the largest messaging applications in the world, the ability to tie in a chat bot that started to answer questions to and from their database and their business applications, really driving a seamless experience for the end users. And again, 20% less calls into their contact center just because so many people were going to WhatsApp to start asking questions about their services. We were able to deliver on geolocation capabilities, so notifications to the client as the package got close, so that they could also be prepared to get the package as they needed to. A lot of these use cases that I've provided during this discussion are online for us in many different formats, but we're also happy to, if you want to engage your C3 folks, they can grab us and we can dig deeper into these use cases and see how it could apply to your use case as well. So we run anything from the very straightforward out-of-the-box services on up to the most advanced here. And this, again, is all on Vonage's proprietary platform. So we own all the intellectual property here. We're the ones developing, procuring, and managing this solution. So one of the last pieces that we've got here, and I'll try to go quick through this, but this can be very, very useful in many different ways, is AI. And so AI can mean a lot to a lot of different people. Just to level set with what artificial intelligence means to Vonage, it is the natural language processing and understanding engine. So it's the service's ability to understand what you're saying and taking that and then making decisions off of what you're saying. The greatest use case that I've got right now is we're talking with a regional restaurant chain. Because of the current circumstances, they aren't able to have people in their restaurants, obviously, so they went to a to-go order, pickup and delivery service. They did this very quickly to get people spun up in call center seats and things of that sort. But the issue was they could not process the load because they didn't have enough agents. People were sitting too long, hanging up. They were getting frustrated. Their clients were. And so we're working with them now to add an AI component that can talk to the customers and give the agents more time. And so we're going back and forth, and we tied the AI into their point of sale services and added the intent, or the essentially what would be the menu options into there as well, so that if people said I wanted a cheeseburger, it would start to ask different questions like, do you want ketchup, mustard, et cetera? Do you want those things on the side? Go through those types of things so that the order could be placed and configured automatically with the artificial intelligence or a virtual agent. And then when it was time to pay, it could be transferred over to an agent, so it could be done in a PCI compliant sort of way. So there's a lot of capabilities that we can really dig into here. That's just one use case. And some of the other use cases that you will see, we talked about the virtual agent, but there's also just intelligent IVRs, alerts and notifications that we can also set up, scheduling confirmations, think doctor's offices, things of that sort. There's many different routes you can go with natural language processing and understanding, and then the engine behind it that allows you to direct it down the appropriate path to solve those solutions. This can be heavily used in a contact center, but it's also got many standalone applications as well.
Perfect.
All right, so I think we're at that question spot. I think I left 13 minutes, give or take, for us here.
Yeah, Taylor, did we have any other questions that came through?
Yeah, let me just, I know we had one question. Oh, come on, there we go. So what does the operator console look like and its functions? I think I spotted something in the desktop app. Can you adjust that, Jonathan?
Yeah, I can absolutely address that. So from a receptionist or operator standpoint, let me see where I've got that app here. Hold on one second. There it is. Receptionist console down here. Let me turn it on here for you real quick. It's a very intuitive drag and drop format. And so you'll see current calls or calls waiting up here in the top left. You'll see any parked calls down here, and then any queues that might be available to that organization as well. Any calls that come in and out will be controlled up here at the top, and you can drag and drop them to anybody that's available at that time as well. So I can make a quick call to do a quick demonstration of that. And you'll see the call set up here. Sorry about that. I was on mute on there. Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Great. So hopefully that answers that question. The calls come in again in the top left. You can drag and drop across, but I think that gets to the receptionist console piece of it, or the operator console.
Taylor, what else do we got out there?
Yeah, so here's another one, and we may have addressed it, throughout the webinar, but what's the number one differentiator between Vonage and other UC providers? Just what, again, separates you from everybody else?
Yeah, great question. And Scott and I did touch on that a little bit. It's going to be our flexibility and integrations. We really do deliver a top-notch service that, when you start to compare all the different hosted service providers out there, we're all going to have some of the same PBX features. And so I really hope that those are less the pieces that are talked about, those feature functionalities that we consider table stakes. And what we're driving is a seamless application that can be integrated into multiple different aspects of your communications infrastructure.
Jonathan, that brings up a good point. So what's, when you guys come up with, hey, Jonathan, we're looking at maybe just upgrading or buying our own on-prem PBX versus looking at something in UCaaS solution, what would be your 3 points of, hey, here's X, Y, and Z, and why UCaaS is a way better decision for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. The way I look at it is, what is the business trying to accomplish? Number one, is it just familiarity with premises-based systems? I think that, we've proven out financial models that even larger organizations, it is extraordinarily cost effective to move to hosted models these days versus the premises-based models. Premises-based models can support a lot of different things, but really from a flexibility standpoint, you start to run into the need for extra infrastructure, whether it's VPNs or other services when people start to want to work from home. So there are some limitations there that really kind of leave you beholden to data centers, things of that sort, that physical structure. When you go this hosted route, and especially when you go to, public cloud offerings such as Vonage, because we're all within the AWS infrastructure globally, you really get tons of flexibility and resiliency. Whereas a physical device, while you can set up multiple redundancies and networks to it, if that piece of hardware still goes down or you have some sort of compute issue on your servers and things of that sort, you're not going to be able to have a failover unless you've got the extra money to deploy to premises-based, a hot, cold, or a warm failover.
And then maybe another one to kind of touch on is, talk to us a little bit about, some clients, a lot of clients still have POTS lines, right? They're using analog lines, and those are going by the wayside, and AT&T and everybody else says, hey, those are going to be discontinued, or they don't even sell them anymore. They have some legacies in place, but and same thing with T1s or PRIs. Talk to us a little bit about that technology obviously going away and everything being more centric based on having that internet connection for using SIP or using just your basic internet connection for your service, your voice services.
Yeah, I can address that in a couple of different ways, Scott. When I look at it, some people still say, well, the POTS lines are tried and true, or the old TDM technologies are tried and true, they don't fail. And while that may be the case, the thing that they may fail to realize is the vast majority of the infrastructure of the tier one carriers out there is all IP based anyway. Right. So their calls, whether they like it or not, are being transformed into IP communications packets and being sent around the world. So I would throw that out first. The second piece is POTS lines, yeah, slowly but surely they're going away. I see physical lines as really only necessary for like elevators and emergency services. Everything other than that, there's really no reason not to transition to IP-based communication functions. From a network perspective, yeah, they are expensive. That's a great point. I mean, they're super expensive, and they're not. It's expensive for what you use of them too, right? So how often are you using those lines?
Exactly. And then just one last thing, and then we'll kind of get wrapped up. A little bit about E911. I mean, can you talk to us about what Vonage and the E911 stuff?
Yeah, so we follow all the most current, I can't remember all those different laws that were passed recently. There were a handful, but we're compliant with all E911 services and requirements. E911 is a part of each of our extension types. We can do this to multiple different locations within an organization, so it doesn't have to be a single location, things of that sort. But we do comply. It is a natural part of all of our services, and we're happy to dig in and make sure that it applies even to larger organizations, when you look at collegiate campuses, things of that sort.
Great.
We have one more question from one of our attendees. If we have a paging system in our factory, can Vonage use that somehow? Can we page from our phones to the factory floor?
So yeah, there's a couple of different ways we can do that, and without putting everybody to sleep with the nuance of the technology, depending on what the paging system requires as a handoff type. The answer is yes. Usually what we see is the ability to deliver, say, a SIP to analog conversion device out there on premises that'll do that. And you can create your paging groups, whether it's just the overhead paging system or you want to tie some physical phones into it as well. But the answer is yes, we can absolutely integrate with most. I can't say all, but with most overhead paging services.
What about last one? What about eFax? Do you guys?
We absolutely do eFax. I'll pull this up here one more time. Let me just show it to you over here on the left-hand side. You'll see eFax delivered right in here. You can drag and drop documents just right into there, and it'll go ahead and it'll send it off. So it's real seamless and easy to use. And any inbound faxes you'll see right in your inbox.
Perfect. Easy enough. Easy peasy. Well, we got
That's
3
right.
minutes. Taylor, is there anything else you wanted to ask or wrap up? Or
Yeah, of course. So just a couple few wrap up items. So first, hopefully everyone received their Grubhub gift card. If you did not, and again, you attended the webinar, please let me know. For those of you who donated your Grubhub gift cards, again, Mercy Health thanks you, and the frontline workers do thank you for that. We did have one other thing in your control panel for those who are audience. We do have several handouts if you're interested in looking more on some of Vonage's products and some of C3's ecosystems as well. But Jonathan, how can we get, a more extensive demo scheduled, and how can we get more information on VBC?
Yeah, that's a great question, Taylor. Thanks. I would say reach out to Scott first. We've got his contact information up here. Scott knows all the people and players here at the Vonage team, and we're really here to help support him and you guys as well. So we work together very seamlessly. Reach out to Scott. He'll schedule anything and everything, and we'll provide the appropriate assets to dig deeper into any of the services that Vonage provides.
Awesome. We definitely appreciate not only all of our panelists, Jonathan, Scott, thank you so much. And then of course, all of our attendees, thank you as well. We will have a follow-up survey. So we definitely, again, appreciate any feedback you have in regards to our webinar. Other than that, please enjoy the rest of your day and happy Friday Eve.
thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.